Welcome to the Knowledge Entrepreneurs Show, where we celebrate the innovators driving change in the education industry. At Edison OS, we've worked with over 500 knowledge entrepreneurs to turn their edtech ideas into profitable businesses. Hi, Rob. Welcome to the Knowledge Entrepreneur Show. Thanks so much for taking time out for this.
Hey, Jam, how are you? Nice to see you.
Likewise, Rob. I'm very well. So, Rob, my first question is most of the time is the same question. How did you get into education and, Polak Tutors now? Was it your plan growing up, or, was it your career plan, or, what's the story?
Yeah, I think like many people in this industry, it was not my plan. And in fact, it was very not my plan because my dad ran a test prep company and was an English teacher. So as a rebellious teenager, I shunned test prep from his business and really wanted nothing to do with it and spent a lot of time kind of fighting the draw to get involved and had a few different career paths before I ended up here. But I did wind my way back to test prep, and I'm really happy to be in the industry now.
Got it, Polak. And so it's kind of, pre-pandemic and post-pandemic largely. And what is it for you? I mean, what are the differences? Were you doing online even before the pandemic, or did you go online only after the pandemic?
So when I started in the industry, I was living in Westchester, New York, and meeting with students in person until about 2016. My wife got a job opportunity then, and we moved to New Jersey. And I spent the first year trying to get established in New Jersey, but commuting back to Connecticut and Westchester a few days a week. I put 40,000 miles on my car over that
Wow.
year, and because of that, I started to see some students remotely. As I got more established in New Jersey, I still had some referrals coming from Connecticut and Westchester, and I started to see them mostly on, at the time, Skype, I think, was what I was first using, and then Zoom eventually. But I did have a setup for online tutoring when the pandemic hit and was ready to go. I'm now back to doing probably 70% of the tutoring in person, but still have a component online.
Got it, Rob. So you're in New Jersey now?
In New Jersey, yeah, New Providence, New Jersey.
Got it. So, Rob, you said your father was also doing test prep, and so by the time you started, is he still doing? Was he doing at that
He's
time?
re- he's retired now. He's been
Okay,
retired for probably about 10 years. When I
great.
started tutoring, I was working for his business, and then when my
Okay,
wife got the job opportunity, we moved to New Jersey, and I just started my own thing here.
got it, Rob. How easy or difficult was it for you to establish a start from the scratch, especially when you move from one place to another? Because tutoring is mostly word of mouth game, right?
It was really hard. I spent that first year just trying to meet as many college counselors, independent college advisors as I could, and school counselors, and looking for that one or two students to get started. And I found some college counselors that gave me an opportunity to work with students. I had one student in, a town about 35 minutes away from me, and she was a challenging student to work with, but she ended up getting a 35 on the ACT, and she was popular and kind of posted on her like fake Instagram account that she had a great help for the ACT. And the next day I got 11 calls probably. And from then I just had a referral
Right.
network in this new town and was established. But I've been working since then. It's been 7 years now, 8 years, and I'm still just trying to become more and more established in more towns in the area so that we can help more students prepare for these tests.
Great stuff, Rob. I mean, so there are two parts that I see to it, right? The moment you have a social proof, it's easy to get a lot of students, somebody go and talk about their experience. But until you get that first thing, you said you have to, kind of depend on counselors to get you an opportunity and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. Now, what I've been curious is how does it work with the counselors? Are they just, do you just go meet them and say, you know what, I can tutor students? And do they work on a revenue sharing model, or do they simply, out of goodwill, help you meet students who are looking for tutoring services?
Yeah, Jag, when I go and meet them, I always try and make it how can I help them and not ask them to help me. So I want to see where there's
Right,
overlap where I can provide referrals to them and students to them and help feed
right,
them business. And I make a really concerted effort after I first meet new potential referral partners that I like to try and have a referral for them as quickly as I can to demonstrate like I'm looking to help you and
right.
hopefully that they'll reciprocate to me. I think there are professional like organizations, the NACAC and IECA and HECA, and I'm pretty sure that they frown on revenue sharing models. So I don't have any formal revenue sharing models with college counselors in the area. What I do have is I have good relationships with them and mutual understanding that if I help their student perform on the test, then they're going to benefit from that and their job's going to be a little bit easier. And the other thing I like to offer is that when they hand the student off to me, I'm an expert in what I do and they can no longer have to worry about handling any questions related to test prep, when to take the test, what should we be doing. That piece is handled in a way that as we work more together, they know is going to be handled appropriately and with care, and the decisions will be made considering what's best for the student, not just what's best for my business or their business. And I think that the more I'm able to demonstrate that, the more trust they have in me, and the more we just end up sharing many students over the years. And that's what I make the value proposition is how can I help their business more so than trying to get them to help me. And I think that if you go in looking for referrals and saying like, please send me students, it's unlikely that you're ever going to get those students.
Got it. Got it, Rob. Rob, you said before the pandemic you used to meet students in person, and then the
Mm-hmm.
pandemic made it online, and then now you're back, to the classroom mode. So, currently, are you doing a hybrid model, or are you doing only the in-person model? How's it?
It's a mixture. We no longer go to anyone's homes. We have an office
Okay,
space, and students
right.
are welcome to come here. So for the students that live nearby and can come to our office space, they tend to do that. Um, but we make Zoom meetings available to all of our students as well. So if they're not local or if they have other obligations that are keeping them from getting to the office, then we make it as easy as possible for them to meet. And in our office, we have, all the tech that you need to connect. So if some students are in person, some are online, we can accommodate both of those individuals on the same night.
Got it, Rob. And what is the dominating mode of teaching in your business? Is it the online, or is it the in-person, or is it that the same students, use both in-person and online?
It's mostly in person. And I think
Okay,
that when we look at the data of the results, there's not that much difference. But as a teacher, sometimes I enjoy the in person experience better, and I get, I think, more helpful information to be able to track a student's eye movements and see exactly what they're writing down in their notes, what they're paying attention to every second of the lesson, where you have to have a little bit of trust and keep them engaged in an online session in a way that makes it reliably safe to assume that they're paying attention and engaged the whole time. There's also students who, because of attention deficits or other processing issues, really need the in-person experience. And I've
right.
gotten much more upfront with parents in initial conversations about understanding what extenuating issues the student might have that make in-person or online the better option for them.
Got it, Rob. Rob, what's your opinion, or what do you think is happening? Do you think the market is now um, there are companies that are known for in person and then there are online? Do you think the test prep market is kind of, these are the two types if you have to look at it from one way?
Yeah, I think there's definitely companies that are online exclusively. In my opinion, it's always been a local business in a lot of
Okay.
ways, and even the online students we're working with are coming primarily from local areas. We don't have a big
Right.
national
Right.
presence. We get students occasionally from all over, but most of the students that hear about us are coming from somewhere that I could drive within 30, 40 minutes. It it's a decision then whether they're going to meet online or in person. And I think that you see some companies get more established and have success growing online only. I don't think there's going to be as much of a need for like the kind of the Princeton Review and Kaplan classes that are all over the country the way there once was. So I don't know if there are big in-person class options the way that maybe there have been in the past. I guess C2 and Huntington Learning Center have been pretty successful at having tutoring locations where students come in, but they're still, I guess they have their own sites and they're not going to people's homes. So it still feels like they operate probably more like a small business where they are. What do you
Got
think?
it, Rob. Um, I I think I don't have the data to say what's majority, but I can say for sure the online mode is definitely expanded and
Mm-hmm.
increased compared to the pre-pandemic times. Um, I think it's got to do with the students and the parents themselves, and if they are comfortable with online, and also that's the thing, right? The tutors, I think, have kind of very clear today that they want to do in person or online. So let me put it this way: from all the people that I've spoken to, tutors that run a one-person business are mostly online, and tutors that have a small business like yours, say for example, you have a team of 6, 7 tutors working with you. You are These are the businesses that I see that have a local presence,
Mm-hmm.
and in fact, so much so that from a student acquisition point of view, the money that they spend in marketing, they focus not on online, but in the local marketing groups and the conventional methods of marketing. So this
Yeah.
is this is my understanding. Yeah. Uh,
And even our online marketing is really very targeted to local community
Local,
groups.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, I'm not saying online marketing doesn't happen, but where it's
Yeah.
targeted to is very much local. Uh, Rob, you started off as a one-person tutor. You went to homes. You're here now. What was the transition point? Were you always clear about the vision for Polak Polak Tutors in terms of, it's going to be a small business with a team of tutors, or were you planning it to just keep it one person tutor company? How did that, how did you reach
Mm-hmm.
here? What was the decisions that you had to make?
I think I didn't have a vision for a long time, and
Okay,
in the last few years, my vision came into place. Most of it because of my own kids. I have two sons. They're 11 and 8, and as they started to go to school, I realized that working, 3 to 9 meant that I didn't see them at all, and
right.
I wanted to be a part of their life, to coach their little league teams, to get to hang out with them, and that meant that I needed to be home dinner time most nights so that I could be involved. So I had to figure
Okay.
out how I could make my business work in a way where I was still doing the things that I love to do, getting to work with students, but also growing the business to exist without my involvement every step of the way. And I know there's ways to tutor online to different parts of the world that have time zones that work better with my schedule, but I saw the easiest and way that felt the nicest to me to try and grow my business here and be local and part of the community. And it's been really fun connecting with different community organizations, sponsoring school events, getting to be someone in town and as part of like the small business community where I live. So I've met a lot of people that way, and I'm really happy that that's the direction the business is taking.
Got it, Rob. Rob, what are the challenges that you've seen? I'm sure, there are reasons why you've got a team now. It's got its own advantages and stuff like that. But what are the challenges that you faced in transitioning from being a one-person tutoring company to, multiple people in terms of maintaining the quality, setting processes and stuff like that?
Like all those things, maintaining quality, setting processes, training the team, rec- being less in control of what's happening in every aspect of the business.
Yeah,
I
being
think,
comfortable with,
yeah,
not being in as much control as you probably used to be.
it's a struggle for me all the time, and it's one, I'm spending a lot of my personal development time working on those skills so that I can be comfortable. And I think like what I've noticed is that I'm the block a lot of the time to the growth of the business because I'm too involved in the marketing, I'm too involved in the back end, I'm too involved in the training of the teachers, and the more I can rely on them to move those things forward in the way that they think is best, and let them do it their way, and less of me telling them this is the way that it should be or this is the way I want you to do it. I can learn more from them, and the business prospers more because more things are happening. And sometimes those things don't happen the way that I like, and I have to correct the ship a little bit so that it meets more with the vision that I have for the business. But I'm getting out of my own way and letting them do their thing. And it's more fun when you are involving other people and relying on them to exercise their own judgment and be, agents of the vision for you instead of feeling like I have to have all the things figured out myself.
Right. Right. It just becomes a luxury when you become comfortable and familiar with the whole process of having a team and then, trusting them, I'm sure. But Rob, how easy or difficult has it been to hire and put together the team that you have today?
I'm I think I'm pretty good at hiring, and I like the team that I have. I can be demanding in the interviews, but I end up with people that have been here and been pretty loyal to the business, and I think are happy working here. So we have lost some people who've gone on to kind of find their dream job that has taken them out of the tutoring industry, and I understand that that's going to happen. But I like the people that we have. I think they're great teachers. I have a woman, Alyssa, who's the director of operations now for the business, and she's been here for 2 years, started as an admin and just grown the role that she has in the business. And she's taking over a lot of the operational aspects of the business that I had been doing myself before. And to have her handling those things just frees up my time to do things like talk to you and do the networking with college counselors and school counselors and principals that I think is where I need to be focusing my time to help the business get to the next level. So I I think too, like it's a process where I feel like we always need to be hiring and looking for great teachers, and we have an executive function arm that we have coaches. And the more I'm out there promoting the business, the more I feel like I need to fill those spots with even more great people on the team. But it is challenging to hire, and it's time consuming. Um, what do you do anything when you hire to try and identify quality candidates?
I mean, I myself don't, we're not doing this, right? I mean, as a company, we have a software and,
Mm-hmm.
that's a different thing. But I can definitely share from the conversation that I've had. Hiring is definitely one of the toughest parts, and a lot of them have a very stringent filtering process in terms of, how have they taken the test themselves and how much have they scored. That's one of the most basic things. But otherwise, I think everybody lives with a fear or, have become comfortable that, look, what tutors are going to have change of minds at some point. There are some people,
Mm-hmm.
who go away starting their own practices. And, some of them probably, more into better opportunities, but that's the way it is. But with time, the companies that I've spoken to have found people who've stuck around, and then they kind of become the core part, and then they kind of become the team that hires new people, and
Mm-hmm.
then that's how the founders find a lot more time to do a lot of other things. But you seemed quite confident when I spoke about hiring, and probably that's got to do with the fact that you've seen your father run a test prep business already.
Yeah.
So maybe you didn't have the apprehension, or maybe you thought, yeah, it's the way it is.
You know,
That's the sense I got.
I think like some of those things that stop people from hiring, the fear of someone going out and starting their own practice. I don't care if someone goes out and starts their own practice someday. It's going to happen eventually if you hire tutors. And
Right.
if someone is confident enough to go out and start their own practice, it means that they've spent time here and have gotten really confident with the work that they've done and the teaching that they've done, and that's going to benefit my business. And if I make this a place that is lucrative for them, that's rewarding for them, that makes their life easier, then they're probably not going to want to do that. And if they do, I'll wish them good luck. And, I think I've met a lot of people from the National Test Prep Association, and having a network of people that are my competitors, but also my friends and the people that I go to for business advice. There's plenty of room in this industry for other small businesses to exist and grow in a way that can be friendly
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
positive.
True.
So I think that those fears are maybe anxiety and fear that people have about just the hiring process, and it's something to keep yourself in a little bit more control of the business. But like I told you, I'm trying to get rid of that side of myself and like let things happen and then deal with them when they happen. And if I keep doing things that I'm in control of and making the relationships that I need to make for my business to be successful, those things are going to continue on regardless of the teachers that are here helping Polak tutors grow and help students.
Got it, Rob. Rob, what, you know, apart from the subject matter content, right, or the
Mm-hmm.
expertise, what are the other aspects do you think is important from a tutoring point of view, especially for standardized testing?
Well, I think really great knowledge of the test is where it starts. And I you can't do a great job of teaching standardized tests without great knowledge of how the tests work, what's almost like a database in your head of questions that are similar to each other, so that when students struggle in one area, you can walk them through a series of questions that will demonstrate understanding of a topic. And for me, my background before I started test prep, I went to law school. I practiced law for 5 years, and I think exceptional literal reading comprehension and the ability to separate what an author's words mean from what we, the reader, think about what the author's saying, or our opinions, or their personal lives of the authors, is a essential skill to understanding how to perform on the test, but then also to help students perform well on the test. So being able to break down the literal meaning of sentences and then separate that from just about everything else that you're thinking is ultimately the number one skill on standardized tests.
Got it, Rob. Rob, I was just going through the website, and I saw that you do test prep tutoring, you do subject tutoring, and then I saw this executive function coaching, right?
Hmm.
How did that, where did it start? What
Yeah.
triggered you to have that section separately?
I think it's the relationships I've formed with college counselors and school counselors. And
Hmm.
this arose specifically out of those relationships because there was a day last year when I got a call from a college counselor and then I got a call from a school counselor, both asking me if we offered executive function coaching. And we didn't, but I saw that there was a need for it since they were reaching out to me for something that they must be getting requests from students about. So I spent some time learning about what executive function coaching entailed and then looked for people that had a lot of experience in it. And the two coaches we have now, Scott and Michaela, have different backgrounds, but are both great coaches. Scott is a special education administrator at one of the schools near us, and Michaela just finished her master's in school psychology and is going to be a school psychologist at an elementary school nearby. And they spend time working with students on really the organizational and processing part of education. So
Right.
kids come in and get help working through their assignments they have coming up, planning out how they're going to space out the work that they're doing on longer term projects. And my kids are 8 and 11, and they come and meet with Scott every Monday night. And for as a parent, it's the best because I know that they're going to have a detailed agenda calendar book of what they have to do, and I can look at that and say, all right, well, this is what you need to do tonight, instead of going through Google Classroom and Power School and all these apps that their teachers use with them. Scott knows how to do that. Michaela knows how to do that, and they help. excuse me. They help the kids learn how to do that themselves. So the more my sons are able to manage their own workload, the easier it is for me as a parent to see how they're performing, and it's really makes parenting easier when those are skills that are easier for the kids.
Got it, Rob. Rob, this question is probably, addressed to you as not as a tutor. Like you said, your kids themselves meet Scott once a week, every Monday night.
Yeah.
From what you said, it seems mostly like, organizing your week ahead and, planning stuff. Why do you think you need someone who's, specialized in that? What's the difference? How does it benefit? Is it just that it makes parents' life easier and is it because the parents do not have time? Is that why you need an executive function coach? Or is it something else that parents don't know that others know?
A lot of the students that work with executive function coaches have diagnosed processing disorders or ADHD or other special education needs that make those skills especially difficult for them. And they're often skills that, excuse me, aren't getting taught in schools. So
Right,
the
right.
teachers don't always show them this is how to organize your schedule and keep track of your agenda for the week and stay on top of your assignments. They just give them the link to the Google Classroom and say, like, I'm going to put the assignments there. So it's someone who's going to help the kids manage those processes themselves and improve on them because they are learnable skills for many of these kids, and they improve and just, you know, are able to focus on the academic side of things because the organizational side of things becomes easier for them.
Uh, are the kids aware enough to, acknowledge and appreciate this aspect of coaching that they receive? And do they, look forward to it on a weekly basis, Rob, from your experience,
I
from
mean,
what you've seen?
my kids love it. It's the coaches make it fun, right? They reward the kids for accomplishing their tasks. They do a good job of discussing with the kids, like, what are the things that you like, and if we can celebrate a success with 5 minutes of YouTube time that we watch together, or playing a game, or reading a book that you like, or having a snack that you like, then they find ways to work those things in to the sessions and give the kids the reinforcement for the positive work that they're doing that the kids enjoy. Do all of them like it? Probably not. There's probably some kids whose parents really think it's important and want them to be here, but the more the kids buy into it, the better the experience is for them. And from what I see, I think the coaches that work here are really charismatic people. They're good at connecting with the kids. And when I hire, I think about how they're going to handle that first meeting with a parent and a kid who doesn't want to be there. And if they're able to bring some joy out from that kid and get them invested in the process, then that's going to be a successful relationship for the business and for the family, and especially for the student who has now someone who's going to text them. So my kids are younger, but most of our students are high school students, and they're getting text reminders about assignments that they have coming up. Scott and Michaela will follow up with them and make sure that they're staying on the task that the students set out for themselves at the beginning of the week. And all those things must be rewarding for the kids to see that, their bad grades that they may have had in the past weren't because they were bad students. It's because they lacked some of the executive functioning skills that got in the way of them performing up to their ability.
Got it, Rob. And Rob, moving on to the tests themselves, what is your take on SAT and ACT? Are there situations, where parents are confused what tests the students are supposed to take, and, how do you handle that situation?
I love them. I think that they're great assessments of what they purport to be, which is how ready students are for college. And working with students every day, I really see a difference in how kids are able to handle those complex texts and talk about them and perform math skills and write. So I think the tests reflect that back in a realistic way. And, for the most part, I think they probably do a pretty similar job of assessing those skills for students. So most students, whether they decide to take SAT or ACT, is not going to be a huge decision point for them. I think that either way, they're going to end up with similar results and can learn the test.
Interesting. Okay.
In a way that's going to be effective. I think for some students, it makes a tremendous amount of difference. So we recommend that students take a practice test of both so we can compare their scores, compare their feedback on what the experience was like, because if they enjoy one test a lot more than the other and the results are pretty similar, then I want them to do the one that's going to feel more comfortable to them and be an easier lift. And then there are certainly circumstances where, having seen a lot of reports from those tests, you can see opportunities for big increases quickly based on the way the practice test went down. So if, for instance, like a student takes the ACT and the science section really tanked their score, that's something that's it's different than all the other sections of all the other standardized tests they take. And I feel confident in the way we teach that a student whose score is derailed by science can learn how to do that if the rest of the test was really good. And it shouldn't be something, unless there are, difficulties in general with like reading information on charts and graphs that the student struggles with. I think if it's more of a way they process through the test, that there's an opportunity there to help them understand that test where, a good day of tutoring, you can get that score to jump sometimes 10 points just by flipping the switch of how they think about it and understand what the task is that they're trying to accomplish.
Got it, Rob. And your students, what's the split between SAT and ACT like? Is it equal or is it, skewed?
It's really interesting, Jag. Some of them, like in the town that I live, it's like 85% take the SAT. And then I have another office about 35 minutes from here, and probably 85% there are taking the ACT. And
wow.
I don't know what it is. They're similar demographics and quality of students. I think it might be like what's offered in school, whether they do the PSAT, PACT,
Right,
and they
right.
just don't have as much exposure to it. So I always encourage them to try the other test if they haven't, and some of them end up converting, but it feels like it's a regional distinction in ways that I don't totally understand, even after being in these markets for 10 years now.
Interesting. And Rob, I'm sure you know that ACT is going to be digitized just like the SAT. And what is your initial reaction to the ACT transitioning to a digital
Yeah.
format on the back of SAT going digital?
It's interesting from a business perspective to think about. It feels like a response to SAT
Right.
more than a decision that was made with a lot of intention. Um, I think I would have liked for them to have an adaptive style as well, where they took advantage of the technology and were able to make the test shorter because it was responding to the students' responses instead of just shortening it to make it a shorter test. Um, I do think like the SAT was a complete redesign and overhaul of what the test was, and as a teacher, you had to learn the new test and how we were going to prepare students for it. I anticipate the changes that the ACT is making will be much easier to transition to because it doesn't feel like they're overhauling the content quite as much. The indications I've heard from ACT make it sound like they think all of the materials they currently have are going to still be relevant for the digital test, which hopefully will make it a smoother, easier transition. Personally, like I think it's kind of fun when the tests change because you get to learn a new test and figure out the puzzle of it, and that's what I love about teaching the test and working with students is that every time you sit down with a student, it's how do I figure out how to connect with this person, how to help them, how to make them understand the things that they're not understanding, and I love that puzzle of teaching. And I think that when you get a new test, it's a new opportunity to figure out where are the ways that I can add value as a business and help my teachers understand where they should be focusing their time in a way that's going to be most effective for their students.
Got it, Rob. And the other center where 85% of them take
Yeah.
SAT, are there a lot of questions from parents about should they be stick with ACT, or is this moment probably where they're going to explore SAT
Yeah.
because SAT is kind of settled now?
It's I'm introducing those questions. The calls I get are,
Okay.
oh, my son Jag is going to take the SAT in May, and it's okay. Has he ever tried an ACT? No.
Right.
He's just going to take the SAT, and it's like, okay, do you want to talk about that? And sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. And I trust our process that if you come in and you're going to absolutely take the SAT, then we're going to help you get ready for that. And I try not to worry too much about, is the ACT maybe a little bit better for you? If you're ready to take one and that's your plan, then unless I see something really clear cut that it's the wrong test for you, I think that we'll help you get where you want to be on that test and can figure out the right path for that student.
Got it, Rob. And overall, the thing is that we get a feel the tests are getting a little shorter in terms of how much time the student
Mm-hmm.
has to put in. Is that does that mean the tests are getting harder, or do you think it's just different? Or, I mean, no way easier, I would
Yeah.
think, but I don't know.
It's hard to say. I think in some ways the experience of taking them doesn't feel harder. It might be that getting the score you want is more difficult because there's more volatility in your score when you have fewer opportunities to demonstrate exactly where your skills are. And we
Oh,
see
right.
those fluctuations from like test to test for students where their score is going to jump around more than it would in the past. So I think that that's what I'm more concerned about is sometimes it's the results go up and then they plateau and then you take the test again and they jump. And then I've had students where there's one outlier test that's just much better than all the rest. And I think it's kind of luck of the draw that the test they got that day just fits their brain better. And more of the things that we worked on and learned came up on that specific test. And that's something that we can't control. So we just give them the tools that we can give them and hope we get one of those tests where enough of the topics that they understand and can demonstrate their skills on come up, and their score is going to represent where their true ability is.
Got it, Rob. It's almost going to be a year since SAT went digital. And do you think students are, is it even a thing that, it is going digital, or are they so comfortable that it's just second nature to them?
For them, it's just the SAT, right? These kids always knew the digital SAT. They are no longer students who took the paper SAT and then switched. They took the digital PSAT as sophomores. They're taking it as juniors. And we're getting into the cycle where this is their whole experience. As business owners, we see the longer term trends, and this is a big change for us. But the students that took the SAT this year never took a different version of the SAT for the most part. So I think they adapt much faster than we adapt, and handle those changes better than the business owners probably handle them.
Got it, Rob. And SAT is completely digital. ACT is going to be digital. But, you said you encourage the students to take both practice tests. So do you give a pen and paper practice test for ACT and a digital one for SAT?
Yes. We'll have them do one of the Blue Book practice tests on the College Board site, and then give a paper version for ACT. And the ACT is going to be offered digitally here, but it's going to continue to be offered on paper and pencil going forward. They haven't made any indication that they're going to take away the paper and pencil option. So where we are in New Jersey, even though the digital test is being offered in April, there's only like 5 test sites that are offering it. And there's only 2 within 30 miles of where I live. So I think most people aren't going to be willing to drive 60, 70 miles to take a digital version when they could take the paper version at their local high school. And I think that my expectation is that there isn't going to be such a big push for the digital ACT since it's the same content on both. And, I don't prefer the digital platform to writing down your math work on a piece of paper. I think the more that they can do that, it's going to benefit the students more.
I mean, is this choice just temporary until the digital version settles, or is it going to be perpetually like this? Is ACT going to be available in both formats, is it?
They've said it's going to be perpetually available like this.
Okay.
The paper version is going to switch to the same format as the digital version in September. But they've said that their plan is to continue to offer the paper version going forward. Whether they stick by that, I don't know. If most people are opting for the digital version, it's going to change. But that's what they've said. And I think the other big difference right now is that the digital ACT is not something you can take on your own device. You have to take it at a school that's providing the computers to you. And I don't think most of the schools around here have the resources to provide computers to 250 kids taking the test in a testing center. So until ACT comes out with the tech where students can securely test on their own devices, there's not going to be a mass movement to the digital test.
Got it, Rob. Great. Rob, I'll probably conclude with this topic question. You've got 2 centers now, and what's your plan in terms of, you said you didn't really have a vision for, you to be here, but how's it now? I mean, are you scaling consciously? Are you growing? Do you have a plan for the next 5 years or 3 years maybe?
Not not that kind of plan. I think my plan is to
Not like an
continue
expansion
to
plan, right?
I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
I want to grow, but I don't have desires to grow out of my regional market. So we might need a bigger office space soon, and we might need more classroom space. And I anticipate that's going to be something that will happen in the next year or two. But I want to keep expanding our reach into the towns and communities near to where I live and helping as many students as we can in these schools. So I want to develop the relationships with the counselors at schools, the principals at schools, with the independent college advisors, and continue to demonstrate to them that we're providing great value to their students. We're helping them reach their potential and develop the skills that they need to perform well on the test and to do as well as they possibly can in school. And if we're able to do that, then the business is going to grow and scale from there. And I've planned to just take that as it comes. But for me, the growth opportunity is really, the heart of it is still teaching and the students and helping them develop in the best way that we can.
got it, Rob. And Rob, another thing is you do tutoring, of course, academic executive functioning and stuff like that. Do you get requests for, admission consulting, essay writing, and stuff like that?
We do. I value the college counselors and advisors that we work with so much that I don't want to have that be a piece of my business. That's what they do. And my area of expertise is the test,
Right.
what happens when they take the test. And then once they get their scores, I want to hand them off back to their college advisor or introduce them to one who can help them with those aspects. And, a lot of that is because of those relationships, but it's also because when I started out, I got requests to help kids with their essays and advising, and I tried, and I just really didn't like it. So it's not the area that I find as
Fair
fun
enough.
and rewarding. And I think it's hard for me as a teacher not to let my own voice come through in the essays, and that's not really the intention of them. So I'll let someone else handle that, and I'll stick to the test prep and the academic side of things.
Got it, Rob. Rob, thanks so much. It was a pleasure talking to you and,
You as well,
learning
Jack.
about your ways. Yeah.